making millions biblically? Sounds like a contradiction, right? But let me tell you why I think otherwise. First of all, why would people think that making millions, obviously making money, getting wealth, would be sin? Why would people think that? It's because of a verse that we see in the Bible from the Gospel of Mark, which is Mark 10:25. It goes something like this. Let me read it to you. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. And this verse has been repeated so often that many people actually believe it is a sin to use skills, help people, and get money from it. But let me tell you why I think that is false. Let me show you how I plan on making millions biblically. First of all, to give you some context on this one verse. This verse is said after Jesus was talking about the young rich ruler, a guy who had everything, and he was talking to Jesus. But Jesus told him to leave everything, sell everything, and follow him. And obviously that upset the rich young ruler. After that, Jesus came with this metaphor of the camel and the eye of the needle. But to give you some real context now, let me read out to you Mark 10:24 to Mark 10:27. And the disciples were astonished at his words. But Jesus answereth again, and saith unto them, Children, how hard is it for them that trust in riches to enter into the kingdom of God? And then again, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. And they were astonished out of measure, saying among themselves, Who then can be saved? And Jesus, looking upon them, saith, With men it is impossible, but not with God. For with God all things are possible. So now you probably have some better context around the verse, right? But who actually is this rich person that Jesus is talking about? The rich person that he is talking about is a person who is attached to money. And Jesus in this verse isn't condemning wealth. He is condemning the attachment to wealth, making money your life purpose. You can see this nowadays with many people trying out this make money quick scheme, right? You have people running OnlyFans agencies. You have people doing the OnlyFans, right? You have people deliberately stepping into lust, stepping into sin just to make money. And that is a huge problem nowadays that is getting so normalized, right? People will do anything for money. But that's exactly what Jesus is talking about here. Not about having wealth, but about the way you get there and about the relationship you have with the money that you then get. And also there's two theories about this verse that I'm going to tell you right now, which I don't personally want to count into this because they're not 100% proven, but just for understanding, I'm going to tell them to you. The first theory is obviously that Jesus is making a hyperbolic claim here. But then people will still argue like, yeah, you should always interpret the Bible word for word, which I obviously agree with, but I also think that you should interpret each verse with context. And also the second theory is that Jesus is talking not about the eye of a needle literally, but about a gate that is supposed to be in Jerusalem, which was called the eye of the needle. And for a camel to get through this gate, they needed to bow down to actually get through, right? So Jesus isn't talking about the real needle, the real eye of a needle, but about a gate that is in Jerusalem where camels needed to bow down, get the reference, bow down to God, surrender to God, to even enter into the kingdom of God. But even without those theories, I think it's clear that if you're reading this with context, it is clear that Jesus isn't condemning wealth at all. Jesus isn't condemning having money. We just live in a capitalistic society, and with that I personally believe that Jesus would be actually supporting people to use their skills, their God-giving skills, their purpose to help people and as a byproduct get money, get wealth. And the last verse actually makes this pretty clear. It goes, And Jesus looking upon them saith, With men it is impossible, but not with God. For with God all things are possible. So you can imagine if you acquire money in the earthly way, you won't be able to enter the kingdom of God. But if you acquire it in the godly way, in the way that God intended you to make money, then it is possible. But obviously, I'm also a huge believer in doing good with money, right? So if you have money, then I believe it is good to share it with people who need it. I believe you should spend it wisely and not on things that make you sin, right? And I obviously also believe that the relationship with money should be kept healthy. So not to make money your life's purpose, but to live in accordance with Jesus' teachings. That's what I believe. So with that being said, Jesus isn't condemning wealth itself. He is condemning getting wealth in a non-biblical way. But what does it mean to get money in a non-biblical way? Like I said, it is to make it your life's purpose. And I always think about this in a certain way, right? Like money is actually risky in two ways. First of all, getting it is risky because you often have to give time, effort, and capital to achieve it, right? You have to take risk to make money oftentimes. And also it is risky because money can blind you from the love of God, from your life's purpose. All the flashy things that you can get with money, they can blind you from the love of God, from the real purpose that you should be pursuing in your life. So how actually do I plan on making money biblically, like without making money my life's purpose? Let me tell you exactly how. My plan is to help people and get money as a byproduct. Let me repeat that. Help people and get the money as a byproduct. With that, my motivation is clear. My motivation isn't money. My motivation isn't the yacht, the house, the car, whatever. Like I can show you, look, I have my vision board right here. And as you can see, I have everything from cars to yachts to where I want to live, to which apartment I want to have, to which books I want to read, like everything like that. You can see it all in here, right? But I especially make it clear to not make this my life purpose. I want to help people and as a byproduct get the things that are shown on here on my vision board, right? And this honestly gives me a much better motivation than just the money. Because if you think about it, like, what are you going to be more motivated about, right? If your motivation is helping people, you're going to do your best to help people, right? It is obvious. And there are so many people you can help, so many. But if your motivation is money, and maybe you try running a business for like 6 months, but you haven't made $1 yet, how low is your motivation going to be? Your motivation is going to be down here, while my motivation when helping people is going to be up here because I have more and more people to help, and I don't see the money as the goal, but the help, the purpose that I serve, the impact that I make, that is my goal. And with that, indirectly, I will be further ahead than anyone whose goal is strictly money.